Hey there everybody, Atlis here, and today I'll be doing something a little different. Today I'll be doing my first ever con review. This one will be for Anime PDX 2, and I'll just be giving you some of my thoughts on what I didn't go well, areas where I think they can improve, and what I thought of the convention in general. Alright, so I'd like to start off by saying this convention was actually really small. Not just the number of attendees, which was probably less than 200, but the con space in general was really small. But I'll talk more on those points later. What I'd really like to talk about first is pre-registration on day 0. So we got there, and the line was backed up. It wasn't huge, it was maybe 20 some odd people, but they were an hour late and they hadn't even started getting people through yet. They were still setting up. And then when they finally did get people through the line and start moving, they were still looking for badges. As they were getting people through the line, they were having to stall everybody that went through to find a badge. I mean, I kind of understand it being their first year in a full weekend convention, and I believe first in this con space, and training new staff. I understand, but an hour is a lot of time to be falling behind. But that being said, when we did finally get up to the table as press, they handled our registration really well and really quickly. I think part of that goes back to an issue we had at NewCon before, which is run by the same people. I won't get too into that here, but it took a lot of time to sort it out. Several different people had to be called. It got fixed, but it took a while. And it looks like they're learning from that, because this was the next convention run by the same people afterwards, and it went a lot better for press. So it looks like they're learning from their mistakes, and that's good. So this time it went a lot better for us. Alright, next up I'd like to talk about the con space itself. For starters, the hotel. The Crown Plaza was nice, but it was really expensive. We actually wound up staying at the Shiloh Inn across the street, because even with the Crown Plaza's convention discount, it was still over $50 more a night. And the Shiloh Inn was not very fancy, but it was clean, the staff were friendly, and it was right across the street, so it was a really good location. The hotel itself, though, the Crown Plaza's layout was not really good for a convention. It started off with a lobby, a cafe, and a little sitting area, and the rest of it was basically a series of hallways. It was like HallCon 2017. I mean, the only rooms were the panel rooms and the dealer's hall. And the dealer's hall was really small. Like, maybe a tenth of what I would normally see at a convention. I think there's probably less than a dozen vendors there. I mean, it was pretty small. The Artist Alley, the term has never been so literal. It was basically just an extra wide hallway that it was in. It was right in front of main events for the panels, so anytime there was a line to get in or out, they were either blocking Artist's Alley, or Artist's Alley was getting mixed up into the line, which wasn't good. The hallways were also really cramped, especially the area around registration. Anybody with big props or big suits of armor were having a really hard time getting around. The signing rooms were next to the signing tables were next to panel rooms as well, so the lines again were getting in the way. It was just not a very good layout for a convention. The staff was friendly and they did a good job, but I really hope that Anime PDX finds a different hotel for next year. Now, as for the panels themselves, there really weren't all that many, but the ones I did make it to were at least pretty good. Keith Silverstein ran a voiceover panel that was pretty interesting, having people come up and do different voice acting challenges. That was fun. It was nice to see a voice actor giving the guests a taste of what it's like from their point of view. They also had a couple panels that were run by fans that were pretty good. So the one issue we did have with the panels was during the lip sync battle, we went in to get footage, and we were told that we had to take a seat even though we were press. Now, normally at conventions with press, they either have little areas set up at the side with smaller stages, little platforms you can stand on to get footage from over the crowd, or they at least let you move around the aisles and film from the sides of the room or the back. And being forced to sit down, that's just not good. It's hard to get good footage that way. if you have to hold the cameras up, it's really tiring and it's hard to get stable footage, and if you put a tripod up, you're blocking the view. So I just decided it really wasn't worth it at that point to get footage, because I didn't want to be that jerk with light blaring in the eyes of the people behind me from my camera and a tripod sitting in their view. That aside though, besides that incident, staff was actually really good this year. They were friendly, they were helpful, and if they didn't have the answer, they were willing to go find somebody who did. So for a lot of first timers, they actually did pretty good. I did feel kind of bad for them sometimes when they had to explain that a panel was running behind or something to that effect, because it wasn't really their fault. I feel a little more communication and a little more preparation would have helped a lot. But all in all, the staff did really good for it being so many of their first convention. As far as the issue that we did have in the lip sync battle, we actually talked to Michael, the guy who runs it. He's the con chair. He actually came by and asked us how things were going, which was pretty cool. And we talked to him once, and it was nice to talk to him and see that he was going around getting feedback, and we'd forgotten to mention the lip sync battle, so fortunately no one else gave us the same issues. Everyone else seemed to know what they were doing in panels. But when we did mention it to him later, he did apologize and tell us that, yeah, a lot of the staff, it's their first time. He would educate them, and I actually did see him sitting down and talking to a small group of them in one of the panels, it looked like. So it looked like he was putting an effort in, and he did genuinely seem to appreciate the feedback so that he could tell them what to do, because dealing with press was kind of a specific situation that a lot of them were probably not prepared for in such a small convention. And this being only their first full weekend, I doubt any of them really expected to get pressed that quickly. But we were there, we got footage, we only had one issue, which again, I mean, that's not that bad for a first-time convention and first-time staff. And, you know, all in all, I'd say him taking feedback is a good sign, and I'm thinking that they'll probably improve next year. A lot of them did a really good job, and I'm going to give him another shot. Alright, I would like to take a minute to talk about the attendees. All in all, they were great, they were friendly, they were willing to let us do video for CMV or pictures. I mean, all in all, it was a good experience, but it was a little strange at this convention because most of the people there were like 14, 15-year-old kids. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it was a little odd to see such a small number of age groups there. I mean, it was either that or people who were running the convention or were older than everyone else that just kind of seemed a little out of place, and that's really where I fit in. There were a few older people there, and to be honest, they had some of the best cosplays because a lot of the younger crowd were doing the newer Voltron, Haikyuu, or Yuri on Ice, which is fine, but not a lot of cosplay diversity. There were a few Seraph at the End cosplayers and a few other different ones that were really nice, but a lot of them were cosplaying from most of the same series. The other thing is, there were a lot of people this year that were doing casual cosplays, which is fine, but when I think casual cosplays, I usually think of something that at least fits the character a little bit, follows their color scheme, looks like something they'd wear, something like that. But a lot of them were just wearing character wigs, and it seemed like whatever they had lying around. There was really nothing to indicate they were in any kind of cosplay, and yet they insisted that they were and tried to stay in character even though it completely didn't fit how they looked. I mean, it's fine to do casual cosplay, I've thought of doing a few, but this was just a little strange. The other thing is, there were quite a few people there that seemed like they're kind of off in their own little groups that looked like they just didn't want to be bothered. I mean, just approaching them, you get this impression that they were already annoyed that you were going to ask them a question or ask them for pictures. Most of the people were very friendly, but there were a few that were off in their own little cliques that made it painfully obvious they were there just to meet with 2 or 3 other friends, and that's it. And it seems a little strange to me to go do something like that at a convention, which is a public event that anyone can go to, where normally you'll be meeting other people and showing off cosplays, things like that, and some of the ones that were doing that were wearing really nice cosplays too. And it just seems a little weird. Alright, so final thoughts on the convention. All in all, it was a pleasant surprise. It was a lot smaller than I expected, even it being their first full weekend, but it was a lot of fun. The staff were great, the attendees overall were really good to meet and to interact with, some really nice cosplays, the panels were fun, it was a really good time actually. We even went into a couple of the dances, which were pretty small, but we got some good footage, and the people there were having a blast, and it looked like a lot of fun. I don't dance, so I just got footage, but it was still fun to see. So all in all, I wouldn't bring my biggest cosplays to this convention just because of space, the small audience, and possibly the small number of people who would recognize it, most of them this year being kids. And I wouldn't go entering the costume contest, again just because of the small audience, but when I enter, I also bring some really big props and things, so that's just me. If you're there just to have fun, go up on stage and show off, I'm sure the contest would be a lot of fun. The panels, though, if you're just there to hang out, meet people, and have a good time, the panels were fun, the attendees were fun, Keith Silverstein, the guest, was great to meet. It was nice to have a little bit more of a casual place to meet him, I guess. I mean, it was kind of weird having it in the hallway, but overall, it was a lot of fun. So if you're just looking for a convention to go hang out at, have fun, see a few panels, and meet some people, I'd say check it out. Alright, I hope you liked my review. I hope you found it helpful. If there's anything else that you'd like me to add into future reviews, let me know. That's it for now. This is Atlis, rolling out.